to Proverbs 17, verse 28. Sister Gabby, will you read in Spanish?
Aún el necio cuando calla es contado por sabio, el que cierra sus labios es entendido.
Okay.
Even fools are thought wise when they keep silent. With their mouths shut, they seem intelligent.
It's kind of a little humorous the way that's put, but it says even fools are counted wise when they keep their mouth shut. They are considered to be wise. Not they are wise, but they are considered to be wise because they keep their mouth shut. This continues the idea from the previous proverb about sparing your words. There's a wonderful way that even a fool be considered wise not to speak. If the fool if the fool is being considered perceptive, this is a very easy way for it to happen. If a fool could be considered wise, okay, this would be an easy way for that to happen, okay? One is reminded of Abraham Lincoln's witty saying. This is so good. It is better to keep your mouth shut and let them think you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Very witty saying. It is better to keep your mouth shut and they can think you're a fool rather than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. That comes from the Bible Hub. Matthew Henry's commentary says, God knows the heart, though, and the folly that is bound there. Therefore, he cannot be deceived in his judgment as many men may be. God knows the heart. Therefore, whether you talking or quiet, he knows the heart. He can't be fooled. He knows the foolishness that's in the heart. John Gill's exposition says, even a fool, if he is but silent, does not betray. Come here.
Hi, how are you? Good. Discúlpeme que los interrumpí. Discúlpeme, no sabía que estaban, ni sabía que era. Es que ven muchísimo.
Okay. Does not betray his folly by his words. Okay? Even a fool, if he is but silent and does not betray his folly by his words, will be reckoned a wise man. If he just stays silent, he'll be reckoned a wise man by those that do not know him. Now, whether he's quiet or talkative, if you know him, you already know what kind of person he is, okay? But if he's silent, he won't betray his folly, okay, and be reckoned or thought of as a wise person if it's somebody that doesn't know him. And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding, and keep them shut, lest he should say anything rashly or hastily. Just because he's quiet, though, does not mean he's a wise man. But it's counted wisdom to him to be quiet. Cambridge Bible for Schools and College says, an unwise man, when he comes among the people, had best be silent. No one knows that he knows nothing unless he talks too much. The pulpit commentary says, not betraying his ignorance and incapacity by words, a foolish man is credited with possessing sense because he's not talking. Job, in the book of Job 13:5, Job says, he reproves his friends because instead of them going to comfort Job, they went there and started doing a lot of talking. And Job, in the 13th chapter, especially in verse 5, says, oh, that ye would altogether hold your peace, and it should be counted your wisdom. Oh, if you would just be quiet, then it would be counted wisdom. But they went and started saying a whole bunch of things that they didn't know what they were talking about. Okay? Wolfen and Zuck says, their words, Job complained, revealed their folly. Hence, their silence would show their wisdom. Their words showed their folly because they started accusing Job. They started quoting things. They started saying to Job, you must have done something. Then Job was trying to defend himself, when really that was not the case. They didn't know, and Job didn't know. Only God knew why Job was going through what he was going through. But in their foolishness, trying to show how much they knew, they actually talked so much. At the end, God reprimanded them. If you look at the book of Job, you'll find God said they had spoken out of turn. And Job had to pray for them because they had literally attacked the person that was suffering so much. That's a foolish person. To go in a hospital room, to go in a room where people are sick, to go in a place where people are grieving and start attacking the person that's going through the problem, how foolish is that? When really, you don't know. You don't know what's going on. To attack them shows your foolishness. Okay? And that's what they did. And he said, oh, that you would altogether hold your peace. How many times we see that? Somebody's hurt. How many times you hear parents do that to little ones? They hurt. Well, you shouldn't have done it. You should. Why would you do that? You shouldn't have. I told you don't put your hand over there. That's foolish. That's painful. That's hurtful. Wait till you take care of them first. And then say later, once they are okay. I've seen shows on TV. The people are in the ER, and there the mother is just fussing. I told you don't do this. The person's bleeding and there's stuff all over. How foolish is that? That's foolish. Hold your peace. Listen, wait, pray, do whatever you need to do before you start in. Okay? At least you be counted to be wise. Somebody would think you had some sense. But if you go in there blah 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 and fussing and cussing and carrying on, well, automatically you're discounted. MacArthur brings out their silence would be true wisdom. Get this. This is not saying that fools show wisdom in their silence, but silence conceals their folly. It's not saying that they show wisdom in their silence, but their silence conceals their folly. It didn't say they were wise, they were considered wise because their silence covered up their foolishness. Okay? But it didn't make them wise because as soon as they started talking or doing something, you could figure that out. The Bible commentary says you cannot tell a fool by facial appearance. He might look ever so wise. He might have ever so much education. He may have ever so much money. He may have ever so much prestige. He may have ever so many people in the congregation. He may have ever so many elegant clothing, fine cars. You can't tell by that. Ever so wise with the outward appearance, with his mouth closed. But the minute his mouth opens, you can know he has no wisdom. Wisdom, we learned last week, wisdom listens. Wisdom is teachable. Wisdom does not make a hasty, inappropriate statement. Isn't that what we learned last week? This kind of ties in with that. Wisdom considers the whole picture. Wisdom doesn't take off on half information. Wisdom pays attention to what's being said, when it's said, what's said, how it's said, who said it. If you're talking, you won't get that wisdom. You won't get that understanding. And you go off half-cocked because you don't really know the full situation. Wisdom pays attention. Wisdom cares. Wisdom spares words, not pour out words. Fools pour out everything. What you need to hear, what you don't need to hear. Some things they say, you say, wow. I could have not heard that. I didn't have to hear that. I didn't have to know that. That's a little bit more than we need to know. But the wise person of understanding, that these tie in with the other scripture, 27. The wise person of understanding listens, pays attention. You ever seen a person, they talk so much, you listen, when you finish, you ask the question, well, I thought you said, huh? I thought you said so-and-so and so. I did. Well, when did I say it? They talk so much, they don't even remember what they said. A wise person is listening, and they're saying, wait a minute, that's not what you said before. You said so-and-so. You said such and such. But the unwise person has so much. I don't care how he looks, how she dresses, what her status is, what part of town you live in, what kind of car you drive, how much money you got in the bank. You can still be a fool with a nice car, with good-looking clothes, with status, that are in high places. All you got to do is keep listening. And that person will say things that make absolutely no sense. They're frivolous. They have no substance to them. They're not sound. They don't have sound words. They like foolish conversations. They love talking about things that have no value, that have no substance. They can go on and on and on for hours about ideologies and theories that have no substance to them. They love to make up their own stuff. They love to throw in their own things. Well, I was thinking, well, that's okay, never mind. And most of all, they don't really know the Lord, and they don't follow His principles and His precepts. And every now and then they get on Facebook and they say, why should, I thought the Bible said the church teaches you shouldn't love money. Well, why do they ask for money? Well, it tells you something right there. They don't know the Bible. They're trying to say something that makes no sense. And then someone with wisdom writes, you need to read what the scripture says. I thought it says money is evil. Money is not. Take some money out and lay it down. It'll just lay there. It won't do anything. It's who's using the money. It's who loves the money. But they feel like that's what came up in their mind, and that's what they need to say. Okay? And everything that people post and write about, you don't have to answer that. The scriptures say you answer a fool according to his folly. You look like him. You sound like him. Yeah. So we don't need to do that. Some things don't warrant an answer. Just let it lay where it lays. You know, when your kids are little and they come and ask, they see what you're doing, and they ask you, what are you doing? Well, I used to come up with, I'm doing so. No, you don't, Ma. You're doing so-so. Well, why'd you ask me that? What you're doing is teaching them to think. Don't just come up with something. Don't just talk just to be talking. You have to be taught those things. My grandmother would say, what? Oh, you go on with that. That's foolishness. You're not talking. You're not saying nothing. Sure would hurt your feelings, but it sure would stick with you. You know how people just want to be in a conversation. They just come in and say a bunch of stuff that has no relevance. We weren't allowed to do that as children. You didn't just step in and go to talking. No, ma'am. You get that look. Now, grown people are talking, you go and play. It hurt your feelings, but it taught you. It taught you not to walk up. Two people are talking and you just butt in. That's food. That's foolishness. That's impolite. That's lack of training and equity. You know, you're not learning and adequate. And we have a lot of those who have their own talk show. How about that? That tells you something about the state of mind we're in today. And a lot of people will just say anything, whatever comes to their mind, whether it's relevant or warranted or not. The foolish person can be counted wise if they keep their mouth shut. A man of understanding knows to be quiet, to spare his words, to spare his thoughts, to think before he speaks, and not just speak just to be speaking.